Watching the opening show made me think twice whether I have to give a speech or sing. But that was certainly a very interesting way to open a conference. Many people have written about the fact that this century will be the Asian century. And I have no doubt that if we get our acts together, it will become so. In fact, whenever I come to Singapore, I feel like I'm looking at a window into the future of Asia. Because it is Singapore, I think, that is showing the rest of Asia what you can do if you have your act in order. Just look at this skyline that keeps changing. Every time I come here, there's something new. Industries as well, from garments to electronics to petroleum to financial services, biotechnology, now tourism, integrated resorts, and trying to become an entrepolis. And I think that is what is going to be important for the rest of Asia, is to keep reinventing ourselves. Because the environment we're going to operate in will not be constant, as we're seeing right now. We need to make continuous adjustments. Writers have said that Asia will regain its preeminent position after 300 years. We used to be more than half the world's GDP in 1750. And they're estimating that by the year 2050, we will be back to that preeminent position. But I do believe that that is not preordained. We need to work on several key areas to make sure that this happens. The first is in the area of people. Because of everything that we're doing here in Singapore, we in the Philippines, development is not for its own sake, but it's about improving people's life. It's about giving them the opportunity to maximize their potential. And in this area, a key part is making sure that we continue to invest in education, which is the great equalizer, which is the key, especially in a country like the Philippines with a lot of poverty, to inclusive growth. It will also be very important for countries such as Malaysia and the more advanced one to avoid the middle income trap. Secondly, we need to make sure that all of our population in Asia, which will be about half the world's population by, or more than half the world's population by 2050, will have access to global class health care. I think this is important if we want them to be productive citizens in our respective countries. The third is to create a culture of entrepreneurship, a culture of embracing challenges, a culture of challenging the status quo. This is something that is not natural for us in the Philippines. For our Chinese friends, I think it's ingrained in their DNA. But for the non-Chinese part of Asia, particularly in the Philippines, it's something that we're really working on. Risk-taking and how the population and the society addresses failures and how they look upon people who fail and how they help them become more successful. To jumpstart entrepreneurship, I think we have to learn lessons from India and Singapore in attracting back its talents who have succeeded in the West. India, for example, has built a very successful IT and outsourcing business by attracting eminent Indians in the Silicon Valley. And I think Singapore is also doing the same in many areas, including biotechnology. This is something that we need to continue to do because this will help jumpstart this culture of entrepreneurship and excellence. People-to-people exchanges, like what we're going through right now, is going to be important so that we can improve our understanding of each other's culture. The Asia is a vast region, over 31 countries with many cultures, with a lot of historical differences. I think increasing people-to-people exchanges will be very important in converting these differences to strength so that we can learn from each other, understand each other, and really work together towards a common future. To facilitate these people-to-people exchanges, I think we need to invest, as the minister said, in infrastructure. The ADB estimates that Asia needs about 8 trillion, no? Whether it's 8 trillion or some higher number, a substantial amount of investment in infrastructure is going to be needed by the countries in the region. In ASEAN, the estimate is over 1 trillion. In the Philippines, we have substantial requirements across the board. And that's why when President Aquino came to office last year, we launched a PPP program as part of our overall infrastructure agenda. PPP, as mentioned again by the minister, will help supplement the limited fiscal space that most countries have. No? In fact, the challenge of the capital markets of the region is to be big enough, to be integrated enough, so that the burgeoning reserves of the region will be recycled within the region, especially into infrastructure. With what's going on in the West, with their demographic situation, their economic and political loss of direction, I think the key for us to continue to prosper is focus on intra-Asia trade, increasing that as a component of our total trade, increasing domestic trade, improving the competitiveness of our respective infrastructure. I think that's going to be important. So if we're able to recycle capital, especially the ones that are coming from the West, to more productive purposes, then we'll come out of this situation in a much stronger position. Infrastructure is also going to be important in helping our entrepreneurs. Being an entrepreneur is difficult. Expert entrepreneurs have said that normally your batting average is 10-20%. With poor infrastructure, probably chances of success will even be less. We in the Philippines, we realize this, and that's why President Aquino is trying to make doing business in the Philippines much simpler. We're trying to simplify rules. We're trying to take advantage of information technology so that opening of companies can be done through the net. Registration of companies can be done through the net. Of course, this is easier said than done. We have projects going on right now. We have stopgap measures that are in place that have already improved the ease of doing business in the Philippines. But clearly, physical infrastructure, IT infrastructure, institutional infrastructure are going to be important in making sure that we attain this future preeminence of Asia. In ASEAN, our vision is to have an integrated economic community by 2015. We've seen the power of integration with the first 13 industries that have been integrated. In the case of the Philippines, our electronics industry have become more sustainable because of this integration. Our cluster on a standalone is not complete, but considered as part of a total ASEAN electronics industry, then it is a more complete cluster and therefore more sustainable. That's why we're looking forward to 2015. We believe that our entrepreneurs in the Philippines, those in Singapore and other countries, need to look across the national borders as we blur them, because they're going to be relevant if you're going to continue to flourish or not. Reducing the infrastructure gap among the 10 Asian countries is also going to be important, because it's Asian, although only 10 countries, we have one of the richest countries in Asia and some of the poorest countries in Asia, and of course the infrastructure follows.